Well, hello and good afternoon. Thank you very much indeed for joining me here today on our audio event live on LinkedIn. Welcome to everybody. We're here to talk about AI, HR, employee experience, and the new world of technology that's already happening. Gary Purcell is my name. I'm the founder and CEO of Amplify Recognition. And just to give you a quick overview of what we do, our company is helps clients to engage and energize their staff, to improve culture, to increase retention, to boost productivity, while reducing HR admin and ensuring budget and tax compliance. So that's all I'll say about us for the time being. I'll give you some directions on how you can contact us or ask any questions as we go along through the event today. So, what I'm going to cover today, I've had a lot of fun looking into AI and researching it and trying to establish where it's at for HR professionals today, because there's a lot of noise out there, and I guess AI is all about generating content, so it's easy for that noise to proliferate. So there's a lot of stuff going on, a lot of background information about AI, and a fair bit of hype as well. So what I'm going to do today is going to go through the sort of history of AI, right up to where it is today, and then start discussing where AI is having an impact today, what clients are telling us about AI, where they're using it, what we've seen ourselves in terms of systems and where it can be very useful, and also maybe dispel some of the myths about AI, and forward look a bit and see where is it all heading. So I'm going to cover things like what is AI and how was it developed, where is AI at today, what AI can do and what it can't do, or what it's not good at, what HR people are currently using AI for, and what are the big concerns in the HR community in relation to AI at the moment and going forward. We'll also look at AI and its impact on employee experience and employee recognition. That's our specialist subject. And then looking at what the future should hold in this area. So start things off. What is AI and how is it developed? Now, if you Google AI, it's going to tell you that artificial intelligence is a specialty within computer science that is concerned with creating systems that can, and this is the key element, that can replicate human intelligence and problem solving abilities. So it replicates human intelligence. In some ways, it's quite a dumb technology. It doesn't actually have any intelligence, but what it's really good at is figuring out the connections of words and images that humans typically put together. So if you go back in time and see where this has all come from, the idea of artificial human intelligence goes right back to ancient Greece, when the Greek philosophers talked about automatons, beings that could be created and exist independently of humans, and all the way up through Renaissance times and the Age of Enlightenment and the Industrial Age. As history progressed, I guess technology lurched to the mechanical and then back towards automation in the power sense, in the steam and the electricity and machines. And then in the 20s there became a fascination with robots, and there's a lot of black and white silent robot films. But in the 50s, where was the real start of the computer age, and this is when the real artificial intelligence, not to do with machines as such, but to do with thinking and putting ideas together in sequence, really started off. Mid 60s was a huge time. The first chatterbox was created, and to use a thing called natural language processing, NLP, which has been around for a long time, since the 60s, and it's used for translation and different things like that even today, even before AI came along. In 1968, a Soviet mathematician proposed a new approach called deep learning, and deep learning is actually sort of the underlying philosophy or the underlying concept behind what is AI today. And then if you roll forward, people, if from a certain age, or certainly from my age, would remember this thing called Deep Blue, which was an IBM developed computer in 1997, which beat Gary Kasparov in a game of chess, and that shook the world. Where for the first time, machines could maneuver a world chess champion in such a way. And it was highly publicized at the time. And then, if you roll forward to 2011, Apple released Siri. So that was the first popular virtual assistant, and the start of consumer applications, I guess, with AI. And then, of course, 2020 and 2022, we see OpenAI. They started beta testing Chat GPT-3 in 2020, and of course then it exploded on the scene, and now everybody knows about it, and the real AI race started. But as you can see, AI didn't just come out of the blue. It's part of a long continuum of technology progress and building on what was there before to the point that we're at today. So the point we're at today, where is it at? Oracle reckons that 74% of people are already using AI powered tools in some shape or form. And that could be, ChatGPT, the Gemini, DeepSeek, because you see a lot of AI add-ons to the common systems that people use today. So a lot of people are using it. But my personal take on it is that it's sort of at the stabilizer stage. If you remember back when you had to, when you were first learning to ride a bike, and you took the stabilizers off. You could cycle a little bit, but you certainly need a lot of help to correct you. And, you're going to fall off a number of times. And AI is a little bit like that at the moment. It does a lot of stuff, but it always needs to be checked, doesn't it, by a human person? So it doesn't have the full end-to-end confidence that you would need to really make this, a killer app right now today. So it's a little bit like self-driving cars as well. Like, great promise, great technology, works well under certain conditions that are sort of controlled and doesn't have messy humans getting in the way. But out in the real world, currently today, it has its limitations. But that doesn't stop everybody talking about AI and maybe overhyping it or where it's at today. It's all about the future. It's all about the promise. It's all about what's going to happen. If you ever read any release or any commentary on an AI product, and it'll say things like, revolutionary, transformational, radical, unprecedented. But normally this is all about the promise about what it's going to be able to do, not exactly what it's doing today. And so I think we need to exercise a little bit of caution as to the impact AI is having now and what it's likely to have in the future. So what can AI do? So what is it impacting, and what is it good at? Well, what it is really good at, because this is what how it functions, is that it's really good at summarizing content and generating content. That's what it does. You feed in a lot of content into it, and it figures out what words will typically go after what words that came before. And in so doing, it can generate and summarize content brilliantly at a huge scale, way more than humans can do. But it's a little bit, I guess, in a way, like the monkey and the typewriter. It's so powerful, it does it so fast that the monkey is banging out a load of great content based on what it's been taught to do up to now. But it's a sort of scattergun approach. And then when you think about generating content and summarizing content, it's actually then no surprise that the first mass market application for AI is a chatbot, because that's exactly what it does. It goes and searches the net, it goes and searches the large language models, all the data that's been fed into it, and when you put in a prompt, it goes and searches and summarizes the content that it already has and puts it back together in a new form that is given back out to you. So perfect for a chatbot, and it's no surprise that is the application that we all know from ChatGPT. But that in itself has limitations, right? That's not going to suddenly take over mining or take over being a lifeguard or going over a lot of other things that human beings can do a lot better. Because what AI, the technology, the core technology itself, what it's not great at, and it may get better in some of these areas, but what it's not great at fundamentally is critical thinking, creativity, complex problem solving. And most importantly, anything to do with person-to-person connections, right? It can't do that. It's not built to that. That's not its thing. So it lacks the stuff that humans are good at or should be good at, intuition, empathy, and dealing with other people. So as we go forward, that's really something I think to keep in mind, because the hype about AI is probably a little bit overblown in what it's going to do, and especially in terms of human work replacements. So, um, if anybody has any questions or comments on this, I'd love to hear back from you as we get further into the next part. So just if you have any questions, you can leave them at the end, or you can just put them in the chat, and I'll get to them. And also, if anybody wants to DM me later on any subject to do with artificial intelligence or employee recognition, or any of the stuff we do to help energize and engage your people, please feel free to contact me through LinkedIn. So moving on a little bit, what what are HR people using AI for at the moment? So we carried out some polls on LinkedIn, and currently, the perception from HR professionals is that AI is having an impact on three things: hiring and recruiting, performance management, and HR analytics. Now, hiring and recruiting was top of the list. Probably no surprise. But we also do a HR trend survey every year, where we do an in-depth survey of hundreds of HR professionals. It's on our website if anybody wants to download it. And we asked about the priorities and the projects that HR people were taking on in 2025, and AI was number 12 on the list. So it isn't like it's the thing that HR people, wake up in the middle of the night worrying about at the moment. But it's out there, and it's something that is, I guess, seeping into the way we all do work, and especially where it comes to people, and where it affects people and productivity. That's where it's going to start having its bigger effect in the world of HR. So HR people, for hiring and recruiting, if you look at recruitment, and the theme through everything I'm going to talk about now, to do with functions in HR that take up a lot of time, the parts of that AI are having the biggest impact on currently are all to do with generating content and summarizing content. For example, we look at recruitment. Well, what the one of the biggest applications for AI right now is job descriptions, writing employee contracts, writing the things that need to be done, and that take a little bit of time to do, and a little bit of thought to do, in order to go ahead with the recruitment process. So that's a fairly basic one, but it's an important one. You can't start recruitment without that. So it is good for generating that type of content, and if you use the right prompts and the right data to feed into it, well, then it will give you some very, very good and very quick job descriptions, and employee contracts, and any other type of documentation that's needed for recruitment. Now, when it comes to summarizing content, this is only beginning to come into to recruitment, but it's not a big stretch to see where if you advertise for a job and you get 100 CVs, and as we've all done in the old days, we would take approximately 6.5 seconds per CV, glance over it, look at two or three key things, and then either put it in the yes for further examination, or no, we'll reject that. And AI is brilliant at summarizing that content, looking for those few peak pieces of information, gleaning those out, and helping take 100 CVs and whittle them down to maybe 10 in a very short space of time. So that's great. Summarizing content is perfect for that. And you're going to see more and more of that helping to do what is quite a manual task otherwise in the recruitment process. Now, some people are saying that AI-powered algorithms will actually help to eliminate unconscious bias, because there is no unconscious bias unless you want to actually actively put it into your AI prompt. And so it will actually, possibly foster more equitable hiring practices, which would be a good thing, right? And there's a lot of talk about personalized, onboarding once you've recruited somebody. But as you can see, it's doing all that admin stuff, around recruiting, but what it's not doing is interviewing your candidates. It's not making the decisions and selecting the candidates. Not yet. Will it in the future? I think that's still up for debate. Ultimately, you are hiring humans. You're not hiring AI bots, and so maybe it'll still need a lot of human intervention to make those final decisions. Um, there is a good case study with the HR system Workday, where they've announced a recruiter agent functionality on their platform. And again, what it's doing is it's embedding AI into as many of the recruitment functions as possible. Like we said, job descriptions. It can even go out and source candidates, schedule interviews. But it remains to be seen whether this is something that is going to work flawlessly on its own, or whether it's just going to be more of a trouble to manage than something that's really going to save an awful lot of time. Because ultimately, even with this, the humans are still going to need the hiring decisions, still going to do the interviews. They're just trying to take out some of the friction, some of the admin processes around that. It's the same with admin in general, right? I was on a webinar last week with our HR system provider, and they spoke about a lot about how HR professionals spend on average 4 hours per week drafting documents. And those documents, they could be for recruitment, but they equally could be policies, emails, any documents that need to be put together for HR. And so AI, the promise of AI is it would make this a lot simpler, and they've embedded AI into their platform. So if you're putting together a new policy on whatever it might be, AI, it will prompt, here's what you should say about it, and you can extend that, or you can make it more concise, or you can eliminate it. However, every single paragraph needs to be edited by human hand. So, these are helps. They're not revolutionary, getting rid of anybody in HR. It's sort of just helping with a small bit of admin really on the side. And they were also talking about content, summarizing content for employees. So, if you think about it, the average employee handbook is now 200 pages long, with all of the policies and procedures to do with HR at a company. And, they're sort of very hard to use, but an AI bot would be ideal, or is ideal, for searching, summarizing, and presenting the actual answer to the question that somebody might have. So say it's maternity leave or parental leave, very quickly with a simple question, that whole 200-page document could produce the actual answer that people are looking for, and then they could have follow-up questions as well. So those type of time-saving features that are already getting built into HR systems, yeah, they're quite useful, um, um, and quite user friendly. They give a good service. They definitely save a bit of time. There's no doubt about it. But it's all on the admin side of HR. Learning development is an interesting area. So when you look at AI at the moment and learning and development, the main thing you see are tons and tons and tons of people selling AI courses and AI seminars and AI expertise on this. Maybe I'm doing that as well myself today, but hopefully I'm not charging anyone. But there's a lot of noise around learning development and AI, and I think that AI powered learning and development is really early stage at the moment. So there are tools out there promising to curate learning paths based on employees' role, career aspirations, current competencies, trying to do personalized learning for individuals. I'm not sure anyone has cracked that yet, but I think they probably will ultimately get there. So there will be more personalized training out there for people, maybe based on inputs that employees themselves put in or managers put in, or maybe searching the metrics that are on record for employees in terms of their experience and the qualifications they have already. Maybe the performance reviews, maybe comments, and putting that together, and then generating a tailored plan based on a pool of available training modules that might be available. But you can see that there's it's a lot of maybes and ifs, and there's a little bit of way to go yet in developing that into a really slick, useful, robust system that won't need a huge amount of human input to run and to manage and to quality check. So I don't think it's quite there yet in learning development. Now, what is coming along and does seem like a good easy idea is AI teaching assistance. So this is where you're doing a an online course or even a person-to-person course. But as part of it, there is a just a very simple chatbot on the subject that can both access the information that's been taught and maybe the wider questions as well from the internet, and can help you answer questions as you're going along. So a very simple one, very similar to what's there at the moment on sort of chat GPT, but maybe with a little bit more control and a little bit more focus on the subject matter in hand. So that's something that you're going to see, I think, more of in any online learning development system. Um, Performance management is a big area, and really, at the moment, there's not much that AI is really doing in that area, from what I can see. I have heard anecdotally that managers do use um, chatbots, AI chatbots, to formulate comments that they need to write on people's assessments. I'm not sure that's probably the best thing to be doing, but it does help some people word feedback to employees, and maybe employees themselves are using it as well for the same purpose, because it is good at generating content, right? And if you put in a what you're trying to say, and it can reword it in a different way, and we've all seen little plugins that do that all over the place. But again, you have to check it yourself afterwards. You certainly wouldn't just send it off after not having looked at it. Um, Content summarizing as well in performance management. Um, there are instances currently at the moment where AI is sort of powering better reporting and dashboards to presenting the information that you can see on performance where it's been measured. Um, but to do that, it really needs to access all the data across maybe multiple systems, and maybe even at that won't even capture all of the touch points that are needed, all the performance metrics that are needed. Um, but what it might do in the area of performance management, if it makes it a slightly more efficient to put together, say, self-assessments or manager assessments and write up that content, it may lead to more frequent performance management assessments. So instead of being, quarterly or annually, they may end up being monthly, which wouldn't be a bad thing as well if it was quicker and easier to do. Um, then HR analytics, and especially analytics for retention. A lot of promise in this area as well, where AI could potentially analyze patterns across your organization, could take all the data from employee satisfaction surveys, from sick leave, from other behaviors that are measured from an employee's workday, and uh, use it to predict the risk that they're going to leave the company. And there's a lot of work being done in that area at the moment. Again, but it's nothing more. If you intuitive, if you know your people well, you'll know which ones are motivated uh, and really engaged with the team and with their tasks and with their role, and really want to get on, and ones that are probably already showing signs on a human level without AI to tell you what's happening, that may be thinking of moving job or changing role. So, but that is analytics, is a big area. No killer apps right there at the moment, but the promise is, oh, it'll help us eventually predict what employees are going to do. The same way back in recruitment, and hopefully we'll be able to predict in a better way how suited employees may be for the role, and be able to bring them on board quicker in a more personalized way, in a better way, and then while they're in the organization, give managers more of an insight into their likelihood of staying and progressing in the company. But when I talk about all of those things that AI currently is doing in the world of HR, you can see that the pattern over and over again is that it's sort of assisting. It's sort of there helping, knocking off some of the bigger, clunkier admin tasks to do with all of the HR functions that are out there today. But nowhere is it just taking over and doing it all for you. And I think that's something really important to keep in mind. That's what the state of play is today. Will it be different next year? It'll be certainly more advanced next year. Maybe in 5 years' time, you'll see that it's taking some of those tasks and completely automating them. But that remains to be seen, in my opinion. So again, if anybody has any comments or questions, please put them in the chat. I'd be delighted to try to answer them when I come to the end of the next and final section. And if you have any questions about employee recognition or employee engagement, please feel free to DM me on LinkedIn for a demo of the Amplify Recognition Hub or any of the rewards and points-based incentive programs and systems that we offer clients. So moving on to the final part of our event today, what are HR people concerned about in terms of AI? And I think if I was to summarize it up, it's the fear of the unknown a little bit at the moment, and a little bit of confusion in the midst of all of the noise that's been generated out there at the moment for AI. So again, on through LinkedIn, we ran a number of polls asking, what were the biggest barriers to using AI at the moment in employee engagement, in HR in general. Limited budget and resources came back as a big one. Fear of losing the human touch, lack of understanding and training, and then also very high up data privacy and security concerns. And so that that is feeding into reluctance to embrace and to try to incorporate AI into daily work. And also, there's an interesting stat where there's a male female divide as well in terms of use of AI, so where in general women are more cautious about using it, see more of the risks and the downsides, compared to men who are a larger percentage of whom are using AI today. But there is legitimate data security issues, and anything you put into a online free tool, like we've all learned from social media, is no longer yours, right? You're giving that away. So you can go in there at the moment and you can search for any competitor or any other person and see what information is out there freely available. So very quickly, what is happening really is that the systems that we're currently using today in HR are incorporating AI tools into them, where they are taking on the data security risks and they are segregating your company data from everyone else's. And that's really, really important in terms of building trust in AI. And there and also, people don't want to have to use multiple new systems, right? So they're going to want to use the systems that you're using today, but with an AI element that delivers ease of use and help with the functions that are in there that you're already using, but maybe in a more manual way, and giving you data security, and knowing that nothing that is transacted on this system is going to leak out into the wider world. So how will AI impact employee recognition? And that is a very, very good question. And again, there's some, I would say, peripheral benefits that are out there at the moment. Some are more useful than others. But we've seen, AI helping maybe employee recognition platforms where you're generating content, maybe prompting you to come up with some praise and some phrases to use when you're maybe nominating or rewarding a colleague. And helping generate that content like all chatbots, AI chatbots do. I have seen a good application where AI will, based on prompts, narrow down 30,000 products that you could use for a particular type of tax-free service award where you have to get a physical product in this particular European country. And what the system will do is, based on your prompts, will narrow it down from 3 or 4 different stores into a list of 30 physical items that are in stock, and they recommend to you within your budget, suitable for what you're looking for, and then you can choose those rather than having to sift through 30,000 different products online, which is can be quite useful. And AI may end up prompting managers to give recognition based on data that they're not seeing, and that's out there at the moment. But that's not here today. So again, that's something that may come along over time. But generally speaking, AI is not built and is not based on human interactions. And so when it comes to employee recognition and managers managing people, that isn't going anywhere anytime soon. In fact, what we've discovered in general before the whole subject of AI came along was that when we launched an employee recognition program in an organization, the key target for that was not employees or leadership, but it was the middle managers, because it's the middle managers that have the biggest impact on employee retention and employee motivation. It's your direct boss. It's the old saying, you join a company and you leave a manager. And at the same time, middle managers or people managers tend to be very busy and tend to sometimes not have all the tools or the time or the skills to deliver the recognition and the positive feedback that employees crave, especially in this day and age. So, if AI can come in and not so much directly impact employee recognition, but free up managers' time by removing some of the admin that they're doing, and allowing them to focus on the human interaction and spend more time dealing on a personal level with their team members. Well, that will be a major impact of AI, not directly, but through what it could do in terms of freeing up people's time. And if you think about it, AI may remove a certain number of repetitive functions. So if your job is completely repetitive, it may end up ultimately being replaced by AI. But in the vast majority of cases, it's not going to be your whole job that will be replaced. It'll be a certain aspect of it, the admin part that can be automated, leaving you as an employer or a manager with more focus on upskilling and moving up the value chain. And when it comes to managers, part of that will be managing at a higher level, maybe even more staff, but doing the person to person, the human bit that AI just won't be able to reach. And there's a very good example of this from IKEA, because on a macro level, where they have so many staff across the world, they were able to reskill 8,500 customer service agents for new roles as virtual interior design consultants, because they got their customer service IKEA bot on their website and trained it using AI up to the point where it was able to manage 40%, so almost half of all of the customer queries were being managed automatically, so without any human intervention. So therefore, half the time that those customer service people were spent dealing with customers could now be spent dealing with customers about queries and problems could now be spent with customers about how to uh, design their homes. And adding all that value sort of upskilled both the employees, but also generate a huge new revenue stream for IKEA, because everything was about consultancy and upselling, as opposed to problems that could, to do with deliveries or whatever, that could just be fixed by the AI bot. So when we look forward um, to what's happening and what is likely to happen, yes, AI is here to stay. Yes, it is useful, and it will automate and take away some of the tedious admin, content generation, content summary, search, and a few more of those more complicated and complex items as time goes on. But it's not going to it's not going to replace everybody as long as we're still in a world where most businesses need to sell to people and not to AI bots. And I think that's very important. It reminds me a little bit of what I call the parable of the universal remote control. So, maybe 20 years ago when, fancy TVs were coming on stream and, DVD players, and then you had game consoles, and every single one of them came with a remote control, and you could never, and then, it's your skybox. So you could never really figure out how to turn different things on. And so the solution to having too many remote controls was getting another remote control. So you got one remote control and you try to train it to deal with all the other remote controls, and then you could have one remote control. And the promise of that was fantastic. One remote control, we could throw all those other ones in the drawer. But what I wonder today when I go around is how many people still use those, because ultimately it was just a little bit too complicated and involved for the benefit that it ultimately delivered. So it's not such a big deal to have one or two um, remote controls sitting on the side of your sofa, really, in the end of the day. And it's a lot less bother to try to keep them all working together. And so AI will work where it's easy and where it can, get that low hanging fruit, and will be embraced, and be embraced within the systems that we're already using today, and will definitely be a help. But like the universal remote control, is it there to take over everything in your sitting room, in your office, in your work world? I have my doubts. So, as we move forward, you're going to see AI agents. This is the new direction I think that AI is probably going to take, where AI is trying to do, it's trying to develop specific single function, system specific applications that will do one thing and do it really well. Um, and that may well start off in a sort of customer service environment, specifically for your company, your customers, your industry. But it'll start getting a lot more specialized. I think that's the direction it'll go in. We'll have AI agents doing specific things and being trained up in a specific way, a bit like we have, cars and vehicles and EVs that are specifically designed to do different things. It'll be the same with AI, and we can expect further adoption of AI by businesses. It definitely has its uses. But my message, I guess, today is the human beings aren't going anywhere anytime soon. And this AI technology is the latest step in a long line of technology innovations that have come along and, yeah, maybe changed the way we've done things, but hasn't replaced humans, like the internet, like mobile phones, even like social media. This is the next step on that evolution. And it's not going to stop here. It'll continue to evolve and maybe evolve into something else in the future as well. So I hope you found that useful. And I'm going to open the floor to any questions that people may have. And like I said, if anybody afterwards wants to contact me directly, or organize a demo of our recognition hub technology platform, I'll be delighted to hear from you as well. So just a few questions. Helen asked, do you think AI will ever feel normal in HR day to day, or will it always need a human check? And that's a very good question. And from what I'm seeing at the moment is that it's going to need a human check for a long, long time. But until, I guess, the functions that it's doing are so well trodden that there's no value to be added anymore with the human check. But I think that's a little bit off. And I think ultimately, um, it'll be a very small subset of the overall AI landscape that will be completely automated and not need any check whatsoever. That would be my read on it. Um, Emma asks, what are the AI tools currently being used by HR professionals that are having real impact? Do you have any recommendations? Well, my recommendation is to is to ask your current providers of systems that you're already using what their AI roadmap is and what is it going to be, and because every single technology provider out there is sort of obligated right now to have an AI roadmap and an AI strategy, and I don't think we're at the stage where we're trying to change HR systems in order to gain more AI powered features. I just don't think the case study is there for that yet. Um, and where it's really having an impact, I think, like I was saying before, is in the basic core advantage of the AI technology and how it works, which is content generation, content summary. That's where producing documents, summarizing documents, getting the answers to things from a large data pool. It's a fairly basic thing, but that's where it's having an impact at the moment. Will it have an impact? I think the tipping point, if it ever reaches it, is will it actually produce a performance rating for your staff? Can you imagine that scenario where you don't have to go in and do an assessment for anyone? You just press a button, or you just get a dashboard for every employee, and they can see it in real time. It feels to me like that's a long way away, a long way off, and so it's not really. It's at a much lower admin level at the moment, and I think it's going to stay that way for a while. Um, that would be my guess. And David asks, curious how companies are making sure AI doesn't overcomplicate things for HR teams already stretched thin. And you're absolutely right, David. I think that's one of the things that we found from the polls. People don't want to have to use new systems. AI should be there as a help, not as another system to learn. And so I think what's going to have the impact is where it helps with small discrete pieces of admin tasks that you're already doing today in the same systems that you're already using today. But now it'll have a little button that says, okay, let AI create this for you. And I think that's where it's at on the adoption curve as I see it at the moment. Laura Baker is asking, from a TA point of view, do you think people can notice when AI has been used to produce a message to them? That's a really good point, and I'm going to answer that with a quick story. So last year we launched a new website for our company, amplifysuccess.com, and I engaged an external web development company who are well respected and uses the latest technology, and I said to them, look, I don't have time to write a whole website. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to write the 5 or 6 pages that I know all about and have all the information with all the experience and all the case studies and everything like that. And I'm going to write it up. I'm going to have 4 pillar pages and then other content off as well that I'm going to write, and it's going to be 100% human, done by us, internal experts, based on all of our experience. But I need you to give me, to get a copywriter who could do the rest. And they said, fine. So, for example, we would have had a page about employee recognition, and then the system and how it works, and then there'd be links off it for service awards and peer recognition and birthdays and service, all the other type of recognition you can have. And those sub pages they were going to write. So they came back to me and they said, "Oh, we've done all that now." I said, "What? Yeah, okay, great." And I had to read through it, what they had done, all the sub pages, right? And I went, "This is amazing. This is unbelievable. I can't believe these guys have got me so well. They know exactly what we're doing. They're writing this better than I am." And I went, "That is fantastic." And then I went back and sort of read it again. And I realized that what was on the pages was lovely, beautiful phraseology. It sounded really well. It looked really well. It was just really professionally written, but it had no depth to it. It didn't actually say anything. It sort of just spun the wheels, and ultimately it felt a little bit synthetic. That's the only way I can describe it. So the next call with these guys, I said, "By the way, did you use any AI for any of those sub pages? Because I just wondered, like, how did you produce that?" And they went, "Oh yeah, it's all AI." I went, "Right." And the lesson, I guess, was that on the surface, yeah, it looked great, but when you actually drill down to it, it was a lot of nonsense. Not nonsense, but it's just a lot of wordy, content that just spun the wheels, didn't go anywhere. So I think that sums it all up for me in that obviously we had to go in, and we're still going in and putting a human touch on all that content. So it was great to do the bulk of the work at the start when you needed it, but it certainly wasn't good enough to explain and sell the services that we offer at that level. So last question. where do most HR teams struggle to get started? Would love to see how Amplify tackles that in action. Well, I've got a confession to make. We don't have any AI on our platform whatsoever. None. We are focused on the human experience, and uh, obviously we have a watching brief, and we use AI in some of the other systems we use in terms of marketing and documentation, and we're looking at AI and the features that are in our HR system, in our CRM system, in our graphic design system, in the documents we produce. So all those peripheral things. But on our own platform, it's human to human rewards and recognition and interactions. And currently, we don't see the case for AI coming in to replace what we're trying to get humans and especially managers and employees to do, which is to get and receive recognition for doing good work, good human work, not just AI or artificial or synthetic. And we say about recognition, it's got to be timely, it's got to be authentic, and it's got to be personalized. And okay, AI could help with some of those things, but I would only trust a human to actually get those three and nail those three, to make recognition really meaningful and really impactful. And good recognition can have fantastic business results for organizations, but bad recognition actually has the opposite effect, and you might as well not have done it. And that's the worry we would have in time trying to go too far, too quickly down the road of AI where it comes to human employee recognition. So I don't think there's any more questions. And I want to thank everyone very, very much for taking the time today to join me. I hope you got something out of the discussion. I hope I answered your questions well enough. And I hope we'll see you back again at our next webinar event in about a month's time. Thank you. Have a good day. Bye-bye.